Is we all desire to achieve happiness. This is a very important quotation, I think, because I see a lot of important quotations from different religions. This morning I mentioned, yesterday I saw there's a quotation from a church. I think it's from Bible or something. They put on the wall. It is said that. Just having food, I can't remember exact the word, but it says something like, just having food for body is not enough. We need food for the soul. So that is something, the soul. You say soul is maybe spirit or something, but in Buddhism also, maybe it can be mind. So we have to have a special support for mind. So anyway, this quotation of the Bodhisattva Shantideva mentioned that we all desire to experience happiness, but because of our ignorance, we conquer our happiness like enemy. That is the first quotation. So we have to think about what we're doing, because we understand the first quotation. We all want, have desire to experience happiness. That is very simple, right? Everybody likes that. I mean, when people depressed and very agitated, or something very, bad situation happens, you take refuge in drugs, alcohol, in order to comfort oneself, isn't it? So, and we take refuge in many things, like when you thirst, you take refuge in drink, hunger, you take refuge in pizza. That's what I ate after teaching this morning. Yeah, it is true, we need this kind of refuge. And it was a big pizza. I still have leftovers. So, I'll work on that after. So we all understand that we all want to be happy. That is very true. But then the second sentence is maybe it's a little bit hard, because it says, but we conquer our happiness and cause of happiness like an enemy. How do we do that? What we are doing? And that is. According to Buddhism, the cause of happiness is overcoming the afflictive emotions like desire, dissatisfaction, anger. They actually, we call 6 poisons. I may mention that before. 6 poisons means that when you take poison, that takes our life. It is very serious. The 6 poisons that Buddha mentioned are the desire, anger, jealous, greedy, pride, and ignorance. Those are the source of all the sufferings. And in Buddhism, Buddha teaches there are 6 rounds of samsara. Have you ever heard samsara? Samsara is a Sanskrit word that we are just circling. It's cyclic existence. We just go up, sometimes go down. We do something, some positive things, we go up a little bit, then go down, just circling in samsara, just circling. And so, because he said even though we want to be happy, but we conquer our happiness like an enemy, which means that we totally overwhelmed by the affect emotions like anger, desire. It's almost like that is our life, isn't it? It's like, sometimes you are not angry, but you are maybe greedy or jealous. Or we constantly, struggling with these 6 poisons. And that is, what do they do? That is the cause of suffering, because each of them, functions or creates we call negative karma. So that's why Shindindera mentioned, even though we want to experience a desire to experience happiness, but because of our ignorance, this is what happens. We conquer happiness like enemy. We're supposed not to follow, but we do that. Then second stanza. What does stanza mean? Like one sentence stanza? Huh? Okay, stanza. Then second and third and fourth stanza says, it says, what we don't like is suffering, but we are always, it says, like painfully chasing the cause of suffering, which means we always follow our discursive thoughts. Get angry, we chase that. But that's very interesting, because when we get angry, we think about what's the cause. It can be really, if you examine that, it can be, laughable. Because sometimes if one person says something that you don't like, excuse me, pizza is coming. Something you don't like, then you get angry, but at the beginning you don't have strong anger, isn't it? You don't like that, something you don't like. Then slowly you think about that. You think about that over and over. Then you really, explore that anger. And that's how it causes to have big problems. You are not able to sleep, and you want to, say something bad. All this problem comes. And so sometimes, we think we are smart. We always think we are smart, what we say is very, kind of, but actually sometimes we are not so smart in that situation, because we are we are controlled by this is unnecessary, I would call unnecessary affect emotions. And where this all affect emotions come from, in Tibetan Buddhism we call ignorance. Ignorance is what we have. It's very clear. We say, I want this, and this is what I did. I. We always have, very strong I. Without really knowing where that I is. I or mine. Then when you have that I, this is mine, this is, his, so we can clinging, fixating to other surrounders. That is we call ego. I, and we always have this fixation. And so basically the quotation is about how we create negative karma, how we basically follow the afflict emotions. And and he mentioned a special offer. So my special offer is slowly. Okay, let's see. I traveled to South America, and when I teach in English, they translate that into Spanish. It's really good, so you can, think about it. What's the next? But when you teach in English, sometimes all of a sudden, all right, so I reorganize, okay? So all of this talk basically came from, loving kindness and compassion, and loving kindness, compassion is medicine for us. It is not just something, a beauty of life, but it is very, very special medicine for our physical health as well. Because when you get upset, especially anger, it takes so much energy from you. Not only that, as you know, scientifically, it grows a lot of damaged neurons in our brain and produce negative brain cells and also loses our memory. All of this basically came from very wild action and wild afflictive emotions. And that's why, the compassion and loving kindness is a beauty of our life, because I think last night or something I mentioned that if a couple has such loving kindness and compassion, and then there's a wonderful environment in that family environment, and everybody can enjoy your life harmoniously. We have a saying in Tibet that don't transform the glass of water into blood, which means that even you don't have much to eat, but if you have very loving family, and your life will go absolutely wonderful. And even you have a glass of water to drink, that is very tasty and very wonderful. Unlike you have everything, but if you have to fight or argue all the time, then nothing can be beautiful. Because this is how strong our mind is. At times, when we are very happy, everything goes well, especially happy, calm, everything what we see is beautiful, isn't it? Or people seem like even nicer to us, and environment has a lot of have become more beautiful. And then at the moment when you change that concept into anger, then everybody becomes sort of enemy. You seem like even like two people talking, it seems like talking about you. Of course they are not talking about you, but how you bring control by the anger. And of course, whatever you eat, there's no taste because of the such emotion. And your whole physical body totally changes, and very scary. I share you a story. And this is something good story about me, one of the best story about me. So I would like to share that so that you will give me a lot of respect. Maybe you will invite me again to mountain. One beautiful day, maybe 2 years ago, at the monastery, I finished breakfast, everything goes well, I had a good mood, and I took a walk up the mountain. It takes about an hour, so I was walking, and there was one lady, maybe like early 40s. She's very pretty, extremely beautiful, and tall, skinny, blonde hair. But when she walks down, I walk up. I see something. I mean, she is beautiful, but she was very upset with something. So she came to me. I was just using a walking stick, just fun. And then she almost, how do you say, throw the saliva on me, something like that. And spit, yeah, thank you, yeah, throw. And then she said, are you from that monastery? She couldn't pronounce that monastery. She was so upset. And I said, yes. And she said, that monastery should burn into ash. And once you burn it, the ash should put in a garbage. And she has a lot of description. And I didn't know what's going on, but I just saw her reaction and her really effective of the anger. She was miserable because, looks like her hair's kind of standing, and her eyes not stable, like just like a blink in her eyes, lot, and sweating. Maybe it's from walk. And when she talks, she doesn't have to speak to me because the water comes on me automatically. And she really was shaky. And then she said nothing, and I didn't say anything because, in fact, there was no space because she constantly talking. And then she walked away. I said, sorry. She said, she looked at me and kind of surprised looking. Oh, maybe it's not your fault. So anyway, I saw that, because normally I myself get angry, I don't see myself. But when you see somebody get angry, it is devastating, And that is a temporary effect. And the long effect is that in Buddha teaches the negative karma. Instantly it actually sort of damages all your positive spiritual. And next life, people don't like you, and you will have a lot of enemies as a result of karma. But most part is that once you die, if you are not able to purify that negative karma, you go to hell realm. One of the worst realm, you experience so much suffering. And that is the antidote of anger is loving kindness and compassion. You probably heard this a lot, loving kindness and compassion all the time. But you don't really, just simply hearing doesn't help, if you really practice it, then you really see the effect of loving kindness, compassion. And one of the way to practice loving kindness, compassion is taking oneself as an example. Buddha teaches in one sutra, he says, it is tantric practice. He says that take oneself as an example and don't harm to any other beings. So that is how we practice, which means that what we want, everything what we do is really want to experience happiness and free from suffering, and everybody else doing the same thing. And so in Buddhism, that is the most important part to try to overcome the anger and really try to feel the sorrow and suffering of other beings, not just for animals or people, but insects, from all the creatures, because none of them want to experience a suffering, and none of them want to, depressed. Everybody want to be happy. And yesterday I gave an example last night actually. When I did retreat, there are many bugs, including ants. And I have, meditation box like this, do practice. And then sometimes we have little ants comes for food on my table. So this ant just walks a lot, walks and round, and he, I don't know he or she, but he whatever eats, it doesn't want to jump from the table, just wants to circle, because he or she feels that if he jumps, maybe say he, because maybe she, if she jumps, then she can get hurt. She doesn't want to hurt. But then, I sometimes have to cough. So a little bit of cough. As soon as it's also we have to play music, play loud. So I'm sorry, I have to play, So I just play and he just jumps without hesitation. You see, just think about that thing. And because he first doesn't want to hurt himself, then later on he doesn't want to hurt by me, so he jumps. And when you really analyze that, I don't think we don't have to use all this logic, because scientists improve anything, everything. Scientists, have documentary about these creatures and how much they like to be happy, how much they like to be survive. And we as a human beings think this earth is something we can control. This is belong to us. But actually it is something shared by entire creatures. Not only the animals, people, but spirits. If you, I know some places it's very strong, like in Tibet, we really respect the environment so much. For example, like if we have to dig something, we just don't dig. We have special prayer to give permission from the deity or spirits. And then, once we've done that prayer, we dig, and if you need rocks, same thing. So you always respect And water, when we pitch water, we first to offer to Buddha, and then we pitch it. We just don't take without doing something. And so as we, as a human being, like in many places thinks that this environment is belong to us, and we can just do whatever we want. I think that's why all of these disasters, natural disasters happening. Because we don't really see, but for example, like His Holiness Kamapa, who's the head of the lineage, feels that we damage so much for the planet that all the spirits on the planet upset. Sometimes they bring these disasters, and he produced some protection for people to wear. This is what I'm wearing. If you look at this one, it's a kind of like this shape, because the earth, human being and the earth connection, the Mother Earth. So he says, whoever wears this one will not have earthquake or anything. And I heard Malta never had. Do you have earthquake here? Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, so I think that is why I go to one side to another subject, like environment, because that is also has to do with love. You really have love to everybody, and you respect, and you don't damage out of desire. Because we, as one of the worst suffering, or let's say worst emotion is dissatisfaction. That is our problem. Let's think about dissatisfaction. I think that is very important to understand, because when you go to groceries, or not grocery, why I say grocery all the time, when you go to mall, you see a beautiful shirt, really, really nice, because they know how to market, so everything they put very well. It looks really good. So you want to buy that. So you buy that, you will wear that few days, and when you go back to mall, you see something else, your dissatisfaction begin to control. The one you bought that is not pretty as what you bought today. That's why our closet is totally full. We don't really wear all of them. Do we have such long life to wear all of those clothes? Nobody knows. It's unpredictable. So that is called dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction will come forever unless you really see the inner potential, inner peace. Once you're able to face your mind in and meditate, doing meditation, and you really see there's something, such satisfaction within you, that's the best friend you ever have. You can use that friend anytime, because when you agitated or suffering, you can meditate, you can calm. So that's why we have like in Tibetan masters, they don't really eat much. They're totally closed retreat, and have one of the example in 11th century, Milarepa. Actually, that's how I memorized the language, Milale. Milarepa. I know it's funny, but Mila, right? Milale, okay. And that's very similar to Milarepa. So Milarepa was a yogi who practiced entirely, he practiced on mountain, never really practiced in village, always in cave and Himalaya mountains. maybe 25,000 high altitude, covered with snow. He only wears one white cotton cloth, meditate on those caves. Entire his life was dedicated to meditate on mountains. And what he ate was, what's the name of that plant? Nettle. Nettle? Yeah, he ate nettles. He didn't really eat much human food. Why do you think why he survived like that? He's another human being. This is because of inner strength, meditation. And the lineage, that prayer that I chanted, before we start, was composed by one Tibetan master. He also practiced in an island for 18 years without food. Basically, he mentioned that his food was meditation, not external food that we eat and goes. Right? We have to eat. Whatever we eat has to go out, right? So, inner meditation, that's why even nowadays, some meditators can meditate for a month without eating. When really mastered meditation, what do you think, what's going on there? Just check it out, I don't really know, but I totally believe that if you do meditation correctly, you can achieve that level, which means that you don't, what you see outside with so-called pleasure, you see something like skin, not the essence on something skin. Everything what we did before was so, what's a nice word? So funny, or maybe I change my mind, because if I use that word, maybe you guys will give me a look, So, meaningless. It's just one. Superficial, so I know the word, but I couldn't use it, so a little bit stupid. Oops. Oh, yeah, not so good. But actually, it is true, my small experience of meditation also has some same feeling, because I used to like to praise by people. I look, like people say you good, I take seriously. But then later on, I felt those are just totally, another word comes, and backfire. It's something not so meaningful. So anyway, I'm glad that, I talked, finally came into the meditation. I couldn't just come to that point. So now about meditation. Do you know the 7 postures? How many people know the 7 postures of meditation? Can you raise your hand, see if I need to talk it? Oh, okay, not many. All right. So there are 7 postures. Maybe some of you know already from different sources, but maybe there's a little different to what we teach in Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism, if you ever practice, it is not practiced from book. It is totally relying upon living lineage. If there's no continuation of the lineage, then it won't help, because from Buddha taught Dharma, that lineage continued up until the masters who carried the lineage, who practiced the lineage. So that is very important. For example, like if you practice certain sadhana, like Chinese practice is very special and everybody can practice, but some sadhanas you have to receive three lineages, reading, transmission, instruction, and empowerment. So it is all about lineage. You have to guide it by master and disciple. The close lineage is very, very important. So